The movie begins with Alice, a 30-year-old woman in a motel room. She receives a call from her husband Eric and rushes to the bathroom. It's 2 in the morning and Eric greets her warmly, reminding her that they have a doctor's appointment to try to have children that day. Eric doesn't know that his wife is cheating on him with John, who is his co-worker and best friend. In the next scene, Alice and John leave the motel and get back on the road. During the trip, it becomes clear that Alice and Eric are having difficulties trying to have a child, but Eric is very understanding and caring toward her. Suddenly, John notices that the gas is running out, which is strange because he remembers filling the tank the day before. Nevertheless, he stops at a gas station he finds along the way to resolve this. While John is putting gas in the car, Alice goes to the convenience store to get coffee. At the same time, we can see that the car is leaking gasoline, explaining why it ran out so quickly. Near the station, there's a large sign that says, "God is here now." Inside the store, Alice goes to the cashier to pay, but there's no one there, so she leaves money on the counter. At this moment, she sees something terrible. There's blood splattered on the walls, and when she tries to leave, someone she doesn't know shoots her in the arm. Hey, what would you do if you were trapped in a store with a shooter outside? The movie I'm going to summarize is called Night of the Hunted. It's a very good and tense movie at the same time. It's a mixture of drama, horror, mystery, and suspense. It's a little-known film, but one that grips you from beginning to end, and the ending will shock you. Before getting into the summary, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and leave a like to receive the best recaps. Right after, several shots are fired in her direction. Despite the pain, Alice manages to hide in a safe place, but no one hears her cries for help. John is in the car, listening to music very loudly, so he has no idea what's happening inside the store. Alice ties a cloth tightly around her injured arm to stop the bleeding and looks outside a bit. Out of nowhere, a bullet passes close to her, and she realizes that the shooter is on top of the large sign. Now she's in a very difficult situation. She's trapped because of a shooter she doesn't know, and her lover is out there unaware of anything. Alice decides to try to get her cell phone, which is a few meters away from her, but when she's almost reaching it, the shooter destroys the phone with a shot. Alice, without solutions, starts looking for other ways to survive. She looks at the security cameras and sees that there's a door to exit. Suddenly, she hears someone talking. When she looks around, she finds a radio on a table near her. It's dangerous to try to get the radio because the shooter can see that place, so Alice carefully makes a plan. She throws snack packages in the air, and when the shooter shoots at them, she runs and grabs the radio. Alice asks the man to call the police while he asks about his wife, Amelia. Meanwhile, John sees that the gas is running out again and finally discovers the leak in the tank. Since Alice is taking too long, he goes to the store to see what's happening. Unfortunately, as soon as he sees her, Alice doesn't even have time to properly warn John, and her lover gets shot in the neck. John falls to the ground, asking Alice for help, but the shooter shoots him again and kills him. After this horrible scene, Alice tries to get the radio back, which had fallen in an open place, using a broomstick. Alice tells the man on the radio her name and explains what's happening in the store. When the man asks again about Amelia, his wife, Alice says she doesn't see anyone else in the store. Hearing this, the man immediately calls the police asking for help. He tells Alice that help will arrive in 15 minutes. Alice is relieved and thanks the man, asking him to stay on the line. The man asks what Alice is doing at dawn with her friend. We discover that Alice works managing social media for a pharmaceutical company. She's returning home after going to an important meeting with her lover. Alice cries, saying she thinks John is dead. The man gives a sinister laugh and says he must be, after hitting John in the head. Alice is terrified, but as if that weren't enough, the man also says that if Alice doesn't want to talk to him, he'll come down there. Looking at the store, Alice sees some light switches and thinks that if the store goes dark, she'll have a better chance of escaping. Alice grabs some things and starts throwing them at the switches, but can't hit them. At this moment, she realizes that the shelf where she's hiding has wheels. Alice moves the shelf slowly and dodges the shots. She manages to jump and turns off the store lights. At the counter, Alice sees a phone, but there's no signal. She sees the alarm button, but it doesn't work. She then sees the car key in her lover's hand on the floor. She goes slowly and gets the key. Alice activates the car alarm, trying to alert someone passing by. The shooter shoots at the engine at the same time a car passes, but doesn't notice anything. After a while, Alice tries to talk to another person on the radio, but can only talk to the shooter. The shooter says that only he, Alice, and Amelia are there. It's at this moment that Alice discovers that Amelia is dead, and the killer tells her that he killed his own wife because she was cheating on him. When Alice hears this, she becomes even more frightened because she's also cheating on her husband. She thinks that maybe that's why the shooter is after her, or maybe she's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Alice's wound is getting very bad, so she uses alcohol to disinfect it and uses glue to stop the bleeding. After a while, Alice uses a mirror with an improvised support to try to find the killer. At this moment, she sees a car arriving at the station, and a man named Doug gets out of it. He enters the store looking for Amelia, his girlfriend. When she sees him, Alice shouts for him to get down, warning that there's a dangerous shooter nearby. She thinks Doug is the man Amelia was cheating with. Alice asks him to call the police, but Doug forgot his phone in the car. Alice tells him that his girlfriend was killed by her husband, but Doug is shocked and says the killer is lying because Amelia was never married. When Doug gets close to the counter, Alice notices something strange. Since he entered the store, the shooter has been quiet, hasn't fired a single shot. This makes her suspect that Doug might be the killer, but he continues saying he's not. Doug explains that he and Amelia work during the night, and he only came there to see his girlfriend. Alice is confused and doesn't know who to believe. She's still suspicious of everything, so Doug tells her to talk to the killer, saying he called the police. Alice tries to talk to the shooter on the radio, but no one responds, making her even more suspicious. As time passes, Alice asks Doug to go to his car to get his phone to prove he's not the shooter. She says she'll try to distract the shooter with a flashlight. Doug is very afraid of this idea because it seems very dangerous, but when Alice insists a lot, he ends up accepting. Doug, very scared, sneaks around the corners to avoid being seen by the shooter, while Alice distracts with the flashlight. But when he reaches the car and tries to get the phone from the holder, he gets shot and dies. His phone is also destroyed. This proves that he was telling the truth all along. He wasn't the shooter. Alice is devastated because she sent poor Doug to his death, and now her chances of escaping are also over. The real shooter returns to talk on the radio and says she's a killer. She sent Doug to do something she knew would kill him. Alice asks why the shooter is doing this. The shooter then says he wants to know the truth. After discovering that Alice went to a pharmaceutical meeting, he's very angry about the way she makes medicines that affect many people's lives. Alice says her company makes medicines and she only promotes them, but the shooter says that's even worse. She's the one spreading lies saying the medicines are good. The shooter also says he knows where Alice works and says she's selfish, that she climbed up in the company stepping over others and deserves to die. This angry man says that Alice falsely accused a man of sexual harassment to advance in the company. The man was fired and had no money to take care of his sick daughter. While he continues talking on the radio about someone who might be himself, Alice sees several umbrellas near the counter and starts planning something. You can't even tell if this man on the radio was really Amelia's husband, since Doug said it was a lie. The shooter might have been lying to get Alice and killed Amelia just because he needed her to be dead to lie about being the betrayed husband seeking revenge. You can't know if he planned to attack Alice or if it was just chance, her being in the wrong place at the wrong time. While the shooter continues talking, Alice arranges some umbrellas, but when he realizes what she's doing, he shoots several times at the station. Luckily, Alice manages to reach the back door, but it's locked. Alice looks for things to break the padlock and tries to break it, but can't. After a while, she sees a man arriving at the station to fill up, but when his credit card doesn't work, he leaves. The shooter doesn't shoot him, saying he's not a psychopath and only kills those who deserve it. Alice gets very emotional and tries to convince the shooter to let her go. She tells him she can't get pregnant and this is already causing problems in her marriage. But the shooter surprises her by saying he already knows she's cheating on her husband. He argues with Alice for being irresponsible, saying, "How can a woman who's out with her lover at dawn want to have children?" The shooter said even more, that he bets Alice had an abortion to avoid getting pregnant. All of this is confirmed when Alice said she doesn't want to have a child to suffer what she suffered and go through what she went through. At this moment, she sees a police car coming quickly to the station, but unfortunately it passes right by without stopping. Alice takes advantage of the distraction to leave the store and slowly go to John's car while the shooter keeps asking where she is. But when she tries to get in the car, the shooter shoots at her and Alice has to run back to the store. During the run, she takes another shot, this time in the leg. Alice feels a lot of pain and is almost fainting, but she manages to make a bandage on the wound, which stops the bleeding for a while the shooter continues talking about humanity. Alice sees a uniform of a man named Henry. It seems he was fired a few weeks before, but his things are still there, including a photo of him with his daughter. She grabs a saw and tries to cut the padlock, but ends up hurting her own hand. Irritated, she grabs the radio and says that killing her won't solve his problems. She calls him Henry and says she understands his life. But after a silence, the shooter only asks, "Who is Henry?" Soon after, another car stops at the station. An elderly man gets out to fill up, but he sees Doug's body and is terrified. The shooter notices and kills the man immediately. To make it worse, the man's wife also gets out of the car. And even though Alice tries to warn her to hide, there's no time. The shooter kills the lady too. Thus, an elderly couple is brutally murdered in front of each other. The killer then tells Alice that the two of them are alike, both are survivors, and that she'll pass this on to the child she hasn't had yet. Alice says they're not alike and tells him she chooses not to have children so they don't become depressed and turn into cowards who hide in the dark, killing innocent people like the shooter. But at this moment, she sees a girl named Cindy in the car. After seeing her grandparents being killed, she's too scared to run away. Alice talks to the killer and asks him not to hurt the child. He responds that if he wanted to kill her, he would have already done it. He asks if Alice would give her life for Cindy. Alice says yes, without thinking twice, and the shooter gives her 2 minutes to make the girl leave. She asks Cindy to run to the road, but even though Alice insists a lot, she can't convince her. The girl, very afraid of the dark, runs into the store. Without other options, Alice makes a barricade at the door and saws the padlock on the back gate. At this moment, the killer finally comes down from the sign and walks toward the store to finish everything. After a while, Alice manages to cut the padlock, but gets desperate when she sees there's another locked door behind it. Now she has no choice. She needs to face the monster. She quickly hides Cindy, grabs anything she can use as a weapon, and prepares to fight. Soon, the shooter enters the store and starts searching. He asks Alice, could it be the betrayed husband who sent him there? Could it be a colleague who was unfairly fired so she could steal his job? Or maybe it's a father suffering because he lost his daughter because of the medicines from her company. When he reaches a corner, Alice jumps on his back by surprise and stabs a bar and a knife into him. But it's not enough to bring down the shooter. He hits Alice, and the two start fighting while she tries to remove his mask. While Cindy hears the fight from a corner, a shot is heard, and Alice falls to the ground, appearing dead. The killer goes to where the girl is hiding and finds her. He tries to remove his mask to show his face, but Alice suddenly appears. She uses her last strength to hit him with a fire extinguisher. The shooter tries to get up, but she hits him again, leaving him still. She drags him to a pressing machine and puts him there, trying all the time to discover who's behind the mask. But before she can see who it is, the machine crushes his head in a horrible way, ending the whole story. The problem is that Alice will never know who the killer was. His motives also remain unexplained, which is the biggest mystery of the movie. Alice loses all her strength, lies on the ground, and dies slowly. Cindy sees all these terrible things happen. In the last scene, the girl leaves the store and starts walking down the road. The sun is rising, and the girl is the only one who survived all this terrible violence. And so the movie ends. What rating would you give this movie? The question that remains is, who is the killer? Write your opinion in the comments. And don't forget to activate the notification bell and leave a like to receive the best recaps.